live. Hello all, welcome back to the Sigil stream. My name as always is Mr. Harlan Guthrie, and I am here tonight once again with the amazingly talented and hilarious Erica.
Hey!
Always ready to nap. We are joined again by the lovely Mr. Gary.
Hi! Hi, everybody!
Of course, we wouldn't be here without the lovely and talented Joe.
Good evening.
And as always, we are joined by Hallister the Dark Mage.
What? You've never seen a character animated wizard before?
Hallister,
Look on.
how did you get in here?
I feel like branching out into the world of streaming. I'm a little bored of the dungeon, actually.
Don't talk to him, Harlan. He's mad, don't you know?
He's a mad wizard in the dungeon of the
mage. I'm the mad mage, but also not so mad. I like things like watching movies and going out for drinks with friends.
Every now and then.
Mimosas? Alistair, how are those mimosas in the underground?
The oranges are a bit chalky, but we make it work.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hereafter Session 0. As of course, Ahmed, the hilarious Ahmed, playing with his new illustrator or something like that.
With your new toys.
What's the program?
If you write stuff in comments, I promise I'll never tell you.
Good. Just checking. Ladies and gentlemen, we have finished with S5E. We ended last week, and it was an absolute blast, a success, a huge success. Some would say a monumental success. I would. It was great. But we are not taking a break. No. I mean, this week's kind of a break because we're doing a session 0. What is a session 0, you might ask? Well, a session 0 is essentially the pre-campaign phase where we sit down, we talk about the expectations coming up in the campaign. We also talk about what kind of characters we're going to be playing. We build them together. We hang out. We have some beers. Gary drinks a ton of water.
So much water.
Pure vodka, folks.
Or pure vodka if you want to do it that way.
I distill my own vodka.
Okay. It's a very chill session tonight, and tonight is going to be no different than any session 0 you would have with your own DM. And if you don't have session 0s, I highly recommend you do. So rather than take the week off, we thought we would hang out with y'all and chat and walk you through this for what's coming up in the future. But again, if you are only interested in gameplay, feel free to like this video and then piss off till next week where we start Hereafter chapter 1.
Some people know what they like. And it's just actual
The algorithm god.
Just make sure you do the whole comeback thing, though. It's 2 actions.
Yeah, it's
Right.
the leaving and then coming back. And
Take your bonus action to come back.
your reaction. Yeah.
Your reaction.
But we get to make an attack of opportunity if you leave.
That's right.
Legally, it's
That's
just...
right. A free
An
attack.
emotional one.
Unless you
It
disengage.
lasts longer.
Unless you
That's good.
disengage. That's great. What is Hereafter, first and foremost? Hereafter is the next campaign that we are going to be running. It is going to be, again, with these lovely people. It is a D&D 5e campaign, not dissimilar to S5e, other than the whole feel of it is much more fantasy-oriented. This is far from traditional D&D, as the world that it will be set in is far drier and deader. Some would say almost post-apocalyptic. That's right. Hereafter is going to be dealing with a very dark, desolate, wasteland-like fantasy world, different than what you might have seen typically, but it will be, no less full of laughs and gaffes and goofs and all that kind of stuff. But the characters that will be navigating their way through this story are going to be no different than your typical fantasy fare. And I'm really excited to talk about who we're going to be playing and build them together and all that kind of stuff. So, Hallister, are you going to be a wizard in our campaign, or?
Nah, this is fantasy, right? Why would I do the same thing I do in real life?
That's true.
That's actually a really good point. Damn it.
Role play, be an accountant or something, right? Like something that you don't get to do every day.
Nah, fuck that noise. That's boring. I think I'm going to be...
Thanks a lot, Ahmed. Hallister.
Ooh!
Doesn't count. Hallister doesn't count. Yeah, that's right.
Why is this
anybody
name
know?
on...
Does anybody know what kind of character they want to play for this campaign? Let's start. Gary's nodding. Let's jump to Gary. Gary Bear. Garbar.
Yeah. I'm going to be playing a tiefling called Garrus. How in detail should we go? Just the whole thing?
Let's do it. Why not?
Right.
Here.
Bring us
So my
in.
guy,
Shower us in character details.
my guy Garrus is a tiefling. He is a red-skinned tiefling. He's got big horns. He looks badass. But he is going to be a paladin that will focus mainly on the healing arts because Garrus was once just the epitome of violence. He would go out, they called him Garrus the Destroyer. He would cut people from anus to throat and laugh as he did it. And then one day, Garrus saw all the violence around him and thought, this is not right. I shouldn't do this. I will now never raise my sword in violence again. I will do it only to protect those I have sworn to look after and heal those when I can. So he tries to keep his temper down because his first instinct is to be like, I'll kill you. But he's trying to be like, now I will kill wounds by healing them.
Nice. Ahmed's back. Hey, Ahmed.
Hey, Ahmed, you missed the
Miss
most
Alistair.
wonderful person.
Just missed him.
Just missed
He
him.
was
like
so cool,
poker.
man.
Pokeroo. He was right.
That
Oh,
show
you-
just
you
brought back a
muted
lot of
Got
memories.
on you and everything.
Now you're muted.
You're
I'm
muted.
gonna rearrange this so how
You're
it works.
muted.
Ouch is true. The anus to chops, I'm assuming.
Is
Oh,
it
hey-
the
oh,
back
hey, guys.
way or
Hey,
the
guys.
front
Oh, hey.
way?
Hey.
Sorry, I'm
Anus
late. Sorry.
mount-
Yeah, does it go like
Go
up the
up
back
and
and around the head?
He would prefer to go from face to face, underneath anus,
So it's a reach
Oh.
around, like kind
a
of
kind of a reverse reach around to chop
So
you
you,
in
you know how like shoehorns are kind of like that weird little J shape?
half.
But if you just wear that in front of you, are they basically just immune?
I want to
Luckily,
give
That's
Never
that's
really
like
person
Shaq
to
shit.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're meeting him after that would have been a possible concern of ours.
He would have died. He would have been killed by a shoehorn
just
wielding
the
knight.
I love that though, Garrus. So first off, I love when people change like alignments. I think alignments are kind of bullshit. I think real life people have the capacity to move up and down, and the best characters in any media depictions always have arcs where they change. So the idea of like staying to an alignment to me is utter bullshit. So I love the idea that this like chaotic evil tiefling or whatever sort of has this redemption arc and ends up coming back. Really
try his
excited
best.
to see that. Yeah. But well, that's the thing. See, you left yourself a little tail there too, which is smart. You said he's got the fiery temper though, which
Wait, why?
as a storyteller,
What?
it's perfect. What's that?
Why? Why? Why
Because
is
that is the perfect
Garrus-
opportunity.
No. I meant why is Garrus like? Why did he repent?
Yeah.
After cutting people from anus to. I imagine that would be
Unless
great
it comes out
joy.
in game, you don't have to tell
You
us
need
too
to be
much.
dedicated.
I have,
to that whole
I
thing.
think I have
Yeah,
in
but-
my head what he would say to that exact question, which I
okay.
can
Okay,
say
we'll
now if
find
you
out, we'll find
want.
out.
No, let's
No. Say.
I just have the worst, best joke in the world. And
Do
it's,
it.
I'm sorry,
Do it.
cutting anus to throat, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Most men aren't into T&A. He's into A&T. A&T man.
I love it.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Former.
Anus to throat.
And that's
Anus
why the
throat.
video gets struck.
I just ruined it.
We did have the viewers did drop by 3 during
Oh,
A&T.
we were doing so well at being so quasi pretend PG-13.
It was perfect. A&T. That's great. I'm really excited. Garrus is a what a complex character, and obviously the tiefling sort of has its own innate preconceptions as well. I think you're going to run into characters throughout this game, Harlan says as he makes notes,
Frantic notes.
where people are going to preconceive, and then you can prove them wrong, and then maybe there's an element of proving them right too, with that fiery temper.
With long claws, I'll scratch you from anus to throat, mildly.
Ooh, scratching.
Can I go next?
You're gonna put that
My
in
character's
quotes on
gonna
a
be
sheet.
Yeah.
a really interesting
On a
counterpoint to
tombstone.
Gary, I think.
No, you can't go next. Of
Oh.
course you can go next. Go, you go.
I don't have a character name yet, but I have been reading a little bit of Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, which is a horror supplement for
Are you gonna be
D&D.
a Vistani?
Ooh.
By the way,
No.
for the people, I think nerfed the Vistani, by the way. 'Cause it's
They
kind of like-
nerfed a lot of. Yeah, we had a long Ravenloft
Yeah.
conversation about this.
I will say though, for anybody who is interested in what I'm allowing the players, it's player handbook +1, so they can have the core rule book and then throw in an addition. Unless we can.
I got my player's handbook and my +1.
She's got it as a
So-
visual. All
so
right, lay it on us.
Here is what I've been reading. This race is called a Hexblood.
Ooh.
Yes. So
Ooh.
it's well, I'll just read it out to you guys. Where wishing fails, ancient magic can offer a heart's desire, at least for a time. Hexbloods are individuals infused with eldritch magic, fey energy, or mysterious witchcraft. Some who enter into bargains with hags gain their deepest wishes, but eventually find themselves transformed. These changes evidence a hag's influence. Ears that split in forked points, skin in lurid shades, long hair that regrows if cut, and an irremovable living crown. So they're kind of horned like
A
tieflings
living
are.
crown.
Yeah. Okay, I want to show
Yeah.
you this.
Yeah.
sick-
Badass.
horns.
Look at these chicks.
Oh, that's cool.
Look at 'em go.
They've got, it looks like horns, kind of.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a growth that comes out of their body and kind of like antlers, maybe.
I
Or
So
like
it's kind of like braided branches, but the branches are their heads.
yeah,
it's like hair.
comes
Yeah.
out of their skull.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of thinking the opposite sort of character metamorphosis from Gary, where my character is kind of like had an innocent childhood, not really understanding that she was different until her parents ended up not being able to care for her anymore because of what they had to give up in order to bring her into the world.
Ooh.
And I think that there is a cost, a price that she has to pay for her existence, and it slowly comes to fruition over time. So I think that
I
she
like that.
either is going to follow a course where she descends into madness or goes from goodness into evilness or has to lose something significant in her journey.
That's really cool. That's
Um,
exciting.
so as far as the origins, potentially it says you were cursed as a child, a deal with the spirits of the forest transformed you into a hexblood, or a coven of hags lost one of its members. You were created to replace that lost hag. So there's some deep
Yeah,
dark
you
shit
and I
there.
can play with that.
We're gonna
depending
talk
on-
about it.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that's really cool about that concept too is it's sort of like there's a bit of a cliche now with vampire films where you have like the innocent who gets bitten and then they're like, newly acquiring this nature of a vampire and they sort of tip into viciousness really easily.
Mhm.
And I like the idea of playing up that, but in a non-traditional sense, not a
Yes.
vampire sense, but a hexblood sense, which they're not innately monstrous,
No.
but they are tainted by like the Fae. So that's a
Exactly.
really cool way to like softly play this naive, Lathander following, girl who's now tainted by this.
I think there's something about her really wants to do good and to be good. And I think so I'm playing a bard. I think she
Oh, cool.
followed a master who taught her one-on-one and they traveled together. And I think that person saw the good in her and really wanted to nourish that. And I think her master either died or was lost somehow. And now she's trying to do right by her master by continuing to do good in the world while still sort of battling against this like internal influence that's kind of a negative feature.
That's awesome.
She's also got some cool traits now. We might have to talk about these, Harlan, because they seem pretty cool.
Yeah.
So all of the racial abilities in this book, they say you can apply a +2, +1 bonus to whatever traits you want. They're not associated with any specific stat. So it's not like, oh, this is a race that gives you +2 in dexterity and a +1 in charisma. It just says you can choose any ones and apply them this way.
Yeah.
So that doesn't matter. But listen to this. Eerie token. As a bonus action, you can harmlessly remove a lock of your hair, one of your nails, or one of your teeth. This token is imbued with magic until you finish a long rest. So you pull out a tooth from yourself and you can give it to someone.
Cool.
And then that allows you to talk telepathically with that person for 10 miles.
Erica's face is so
I'm
good.
just
Like,
Or you can use the token to like remotely view that person. So if I wanted, I could give a tooth to Ahmed, and then Ahmed could go into a building and I could see what he's seeing.
It's amazing.
It's pretty cool, right? I don't know. I don't know.
No. Oh, are you kidding? That's amazing.
And then there's disguise self and hex spells once per long rest.
I can't just throw the tooth in the building.
You
Look at the building.
That's where it's gonna
I don't
go.
want to carry
I'll
around
have
the
to. I'll have to do a closer read, but
I'll have to read it. Yeah.
those are
Unfortunately,
the-
it's a new book. Nothing's online. I can't just Google
yeah,
it.
it just came out in May of this year. So
Wait,
that's
can I just ask for the token because I'm now horribly, morbidly curious. How long does that last for? Like, how long is the tooth good?
so once you finish a long rest, you regrow that tooth.
Oh, does the tooth like just stay still?
I
Like,
think it just
get it
rots
back.
slowly. Like you get to keep my tooth until it turns black and smells. And then you
oh, the generosity! I'm so excited for it. I'm in my mind. I'm raking them. I'm like, lock of hair, fine. Fingernail, I'm weirdly fine. Tooth.
I like
that's
this.
so
I
cool.
like the
Some people
organic bio-ness, bio
Yeah.
grossness of it. It's kinda
Yeah. And so for a previous campaign, I had made some tiefling horns. I think I'm gonna do a little bit of arts and crafts and create like some little things to
Oh,
wear.
nice.
On, like a headband.
Good thinking.
All
Just to
right.
get in a character, you know?
Yeah, I like it. No, I'm in. Disguise self is once per long rest. You said.
Yeah, you can cast the disguise self and hex spells with this trait. You can cast one of them per long rest, I believe.
Okay, so either or type thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's fine. Cool.
And that's it.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, there's also a picture of a dude hex blood, just in case you wanted a more of a male
Dude blood.
picture.
Look at him
I
go.
like
Oh, nice.
cooler.
Okay, he does look pretty cool.
Oh, he looks snobby.
So much more.
That's worth a few teeth.
Did you make the s'mores yet?
That's worth the poutine.
I said that's worth this. That's worth a few teeth.
Oh,
I mean, depending on what kind of picture,
I'd
then
like
sure.
him to eat me some
Somebody's
teeth.
craving
Oh, yeah.
poutine.
Cheese curds from that man?
Yeah, they're all cheese curds.
Hold on.
Absolutely. Don't think about it. Just eat.
Yeah, so that's my plan.
All right, I like it.
Thanks.
Ahmed, Erica, any thoughts?
Yeah, I got one. Actually, and I'm sorry. There's going to be a bit of a cat. Okay, there we go. Don't mind that.
Snails.
That was just a little bit of a recurring guest moment. So anyway, pretty hard switch from what Garrus is thinking in terms of the redemption. And sorry, Joe didn't have a name for a character yet. Hard switch from the rise. I'm looking at stagnation for my character. You ever have the kind of friend who has always just kind of been around in just a childhood friend you don't really grow out of because they're still helpful, they've got connections, father still got a sweet cottage or something. I don't know. Just somebody who's useful enough that you don't get rid of. That's the character I want. I want to play a druid who's effectively, he's like a librarian for other people. Like he's got childhood friends with a brewer, alchemist, apothecary, and a poisoner. And his whole thing, what he makes him useful to everybody else, is he just goes around and finds new ingredients for them.
That's awesome.
Chooses them, eats them, through experience, learns what these things do and what they actually offer, and then comes back with whatever he survives with, which so far he's been doing great. So as long as he keeps doing that, he can still hang out with his friends. Nothing needs to change. He's happy and content.
I love
That's
it.
that's the concept.
That's fantastic.
I really like that.
I was just about to say,
lot.
I really like that.
Someone who
like a
is
cult
used to
member.
getting taken advantage of.
Yeah, but like
All the
something
time.
about I think, and this speaks
That's
on a
so
personal
cool.
level to me because I played with a number of people that play characters that like kind of can be like know-it-alls or knowledge, you know, and they're and that's typically the range that people go for. But I've never seen nor played with nor heard of someone who goes hard into like the apothecary side of it, like the elemental like mushrooms and herbs side of it, which I think is such a amazing decision, but
Mhm.
also adds so much more flavor to a character. That's like, you know, you walk into a dungeon and you want to know this and this and this and this, sure, but you walk into a dungeon and you're like, what is that mold? That mold is what I want to know about.
The
And that-
naturalist.
like that to me is so much more interesting, especially with the druid background. A fantastic character concept. That's really exciting.
Really cool.
Um,
Do you have a name?
Sal, which I swear to God is not short for salad, but I'll find you the longer version of the name later.
I really hope it is
Salvarino, maybe?
salad.
Salmonella?
Salad.
We're gonna find out. That would be also a great suggestion because it would kind of go hand in hand with them. We're gonna assume that he's got a couple nicknames from his friends too.
Yeah.
That's great.
And what race?
I'm actually thinking half orc.
Cool.
I really like the idea of taking a race that's not specifically, I guess, min-maxed to support a druid. I want him to do the whole thing as he's going to help because that's what he wants to do.
Nice.
That was one of the first things I said to Harlan. I was like, I want to toy around with playing a race class combination that doesn't typically get seen.
Yeah. That's
And I
fun.
think that's cool.
I
Not
love
to
it.
worry too much about the
Half-orc
stats.
druid names.
Yeah.
So then are Sal's friends going to be this group of friends? Like, is this the group or is it just...
I don't think so. What I'm thinking is happening is that his friends have independently, because in my mind they don't like each other, but they like that they have a useful mutual friend, so they're keeping that intact. Might have said, this is a group of people we want you to go with because they're going somewhere that's going to find some good stuff. We haven't been there. Bring something back.
Mhm.
So it's some faith in you guys, but I think it's more of the whole association networking thing.
Maybe it'll be like a crossover, and what you're looking for is this rare fractal flower that only grows in this side of the world, and it'll be like we're starting to weave the tapestry of our massive world together.
Don't you tempt me.
I mean, we'll talk. Awesome. So we have a tiefling paladin, a hexblood bard, a half orc druid, Ahmed. Who are you
And an
playing?
So yeah, speaking of flowers, I kind of wrote something into my thing regarding flowers. I called it
Read
the
it
black
out. I'm
lilac.
queuing you up. Go
Yeah.
for it.
All right, cool. So, Kala of Parfu, and I'm thinking she's like, I haven't decided on her like in her tonality, but she's the most gifted tracker hunter of the honorable Parfu clan. So they're orcs as well, but they're more reserved. They live in a valley that's like lush and beautiful, and they're all very like they're more like monks, if you will. And she ends up getting in trouble a lot because she's defiant about their culture, the old ways, and she wants things to be more fair, and she feels like she has a greater place in her society. But she ends up pushing the buttons of the wrong chieftain and is expelled from the valley and forced on a mission that she can't succeed at, which is finding this black lilac, which could be our flower, right?
Cool.
Exactly. You said
I
it.
think there's a
Could be our
crossover
fractal
here
flower.
between Salah.
But it's a myth, nobody has ever seen it, and so they're sending her on a futile errand, but she accepts it because she wants to be a hunter and a tracker like her father, and so she's going to join the group in this capacity. She brings with her dire wolf cub Inkfoot because he has little black paws. And she just takes he's just a cub, and hopefully he will be lovely and a fun addition, somebody that I have to, upon life or death, like take care of, like it's a baby, and I've got to handle it with care, no matter where I go. And so I have that burden as well as the burden of an impossible journey. So
I love it. Great character.
Really great character.
That's such a cool character. You deserve a round of applause. Let me cue it up. There you go.
This is gonna be a good ass party,
It's gonna
y'all.
be good.
Yeah.
And straight orc, right? Not like half orc or anything like that. Full blooded.
I was picturing full-blooded orc,
Cool.
but if that's okay.
We're also going to be a party of very non-stereotypical adventures. We're gonna have
Yeah.
a single human,
What do we send
single
into talk
half
to
elf.
people?
Well, the Hexblood is.
I'm
your,
going to be charisma
I was
heavy.
going to say your casting modifier is probably charisma, as well as the tiefling. I think will be because you're a paladin, right? Is
Yeah.
it wisdom or it's wisdom actually, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I have it ready to go on D&D, but
Yeah, I believe it's charisma.
I think it's
I never
but
played one,
it's-
so I'll be interesting to see.
There's a
you've
lot
been
of
a paladin?
wisdom attributes as well.
No, I've always
Paladins
wanted
are
to.
the best D&D class, and I say that as somebody
Ooh,
who
wow.
doesn't enjoy playing paladins, but I honestly
Oh.
think, in my opinion, D&D is built for a paladin. Put it that way. Whether or
okay.
not that's like the best, that's fair enough. But to me, D&D is built for paladin because again, their modifier is charisma, which means they can speak in most circumstances as well as be combatively effective using the same stat.
They can wear heavy armor.
They can wear heavy armor, and their sort of secondary is like strength. They have typically good con. Their wisdom is sort of in there too.
They
like
got the
to
heals.
me, and they have the best mix of like melee combat as well as spells, as well as divine, which allows you to,
Detect magic.
yeah. Plus, they're the only class that has the way you play them built into the mechanics of playing the character, i.e.,
Yeah, the oath.
if you make the oath and you break it, then you are breaking essentially your character.
Are they ritual casters?
Yes, they are.
They are?
I think so.
It's fucking awesome.
Kala, the orc, what class are you, Ahmed?
I don't know. I left it up to, I don't know. She could be a fighter, she could be a ranger, she could be a barbarian. It's more of a character idea, and I just haven't decided. But I think we should decide right now together.
Well, put it this way: I will tell you off the top that if you choose to make her a ranger, I will allow you to use Unearthed Arcana Ranger, because Unearthed Arcana Ranger to me is it's more balanced towards what a ranger should be. I think rules as written ranger is not very good, and it kind of makes people not want to play it. And I love rangers, so
done, my guy, done.
If you want to, still your choice, because whatever you want.
I do. I like it. So wait,
it's like main class that they've done our Unearthed Arcana for, like what does that tell you? It's like obviously they needed to rework it. So, are we going to roll up some characters then? Are we going to get some pens to papers? I'm really interested in learning the ins and outs of like what our stats are and stuff.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yes, Arcane Rangers are badass. Does anyone feel comfortable enough to screen share? If you don't want to, you don't have to. I can fill out one with everybody.
I can screen. I'll do mine. Sure. Just I'm just doing it on D&D Beyond, so
yeah,
I can share that.
Which I'm also doing.
Yeah, we'll just queue up our shares, and you can toggle.
Cycle through them.
Oh,
you can be like, whatchamacallit? I want to see Antique Roadshow, but not really.
So this is
I'm going
mine.
to share my screen.
Character preferences.
But I just realized I don't have this. I don't have Unearthed Arcana, right? It would have to be on this list for it to apply, correct? So I'll do it. I'll do it the old way. I'll just read through it.
Old school.
Yeah, I'm gonna do mine old school too.
Shite.
Calculate all manually.
I'm gonna have to hold on. I'm gonna share the screen.
Yeah,
You
I'm
can
gonna
probably
share another
see everything I can
Yes,
see.
D&D Beyond does support 5e. Oh, look, we're all there.
Wait.
Hey.
Okay. So here I am.
Lightsaber there.
Oh yeah. I don't really know if there's any need to include any more of this stuff. I don't know if anything and it particularly helps tieflings or paladins.
Well, we're gonna try to aim for, again, Player's Handbook +1 anyway.
Cool.
So you only need if it says, I don't know how D&D Beyond works, but I don't know how it works. But while you guys are starting to roll that up, I'll tell the audience a little bit about what we're doing and what this is all about.
Yes.
What's this? Aaron's sending me the D&D Beyond link. If they join that first, you have access to all of Aaron's books. Oh, here, everyone, sign into this first.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Linked in private chat. Post it live on the air for everybody to see.
Yeah.
Talking a little bit about what this campaign is going to be before, while they're starting to sort out their own stuff. This is going to be an interesting one. We're mixing and matching a few different things. A large portion of what we're going to be playing over the next number of weeks is going to be of my own creation. However, we are going to be working in something really exciting, a Sigil product called Temple of the First Fire, which is a fantastic adventure written by our own Eugene Marshall. That's right, who did S5E. Temple of the First Fire is a Savage Sign Presents product that you can get on the website. You can check it out pretty much now. I believe it is available anywhere you would normally get products of this nature, as well as I said, you can find it on the Sigil website or Drive Through RPG. But it is a 2-hour adventure that I am going to be expanding and building upon. So if you are somebody who's excited to sort of play along with us or see how I take and twist certain things, you should absolutely check out that product. I'm going to be pumping it an untold amount of times as we lead up to it. But that is going to be sort of one of the first major acts of this adventure. We're going to sort of have a nice soft start as they arrive in this new world to the east. And what that world is, as I alluded to a little bit at the beginning, is sort of like a fantasy post-apocalypse. And I want you to picture sort of that Mad Max era, but wipe out all of the gasoline and all the really cool things that made that specific and infuse this idea of what a fantasy virus or something like that would wipe out the world. What would it look like after that, you know? And that's sort of the groundwork in which we're setting our game on. Now the players are going to be traveling to this world. They didn't grow up in this world, so it's going to be a new experience to them, just as it is to you, the viewer, as we kind of go through it. But they're coming from something of more of a typical fantasy. They're really coming from green grass hills and forests and mountains and things like that to this desolate part of their world. So apart from that, we're also going to get to see a lot of new creatures, a lot of new monstrosities that they have to fight that sort of come hand in hand with this dark, dismal world.
Spooky.
Jesse says, yes, which I'm assuming is like F yeah. And I have to assume that's just about how cool the campaign sounds, because I agree. All right, let's take a look on Gary. Gary, how is your character? Are you doing point by, right?
I'm doing point.
Yeah, I'll do standard array, or I can do point by, either or.
You choose, but I am a strong supporter of point by.
Okay.
I highly recommend everyone do point by if they want.
I'm kind of wondering what order I should go in. I'm thinking strength, charisma, or the other way around. I'm not sure, since I'm going to smack people and also cast spells.
Well, that's the question. Do you want to be a smacky spelly?
No, I believe
I think I should be a spelly smacky.
Because I believe the core of your bonuses comes from charisma, if I'm not mistaken. Check your abilities, and you're gonna find. I just don't remember what it's called. The ability it describes that you're gonna get that bonus to like almost everything.
So
I'll look it up in a second.
Your saving throws are wisdom and charisma, and your spell casting modifier is your charisma modifier.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to want to heal, so the most points are going to have to go into charisma.
Well, I also think you'll get lay on hands. I think that's just a power.
Yeah, he does.
So that no matter what, you'll always be able to do a little bit of healing, which is again why paladins are.
And I'm also going to be supporting with a little bit of heals, bard wise.
That's right. Yeah.
Not as much as the paladin, but worst case scenario, I'm going to have a cure wounds going on.
Cool. I suppose saving throw. He will have some like residual. I can fight left over.
Mm-hmm.
So strength might be next, whether he wants it to be or not.
I think that's smart. Yeah, because you can have a warhammer or a javelin or something like that. Go up and bonk them on the nose. Plus, and again, another reason why paladins are amazing is I think at 5th level you get extra attack. So no matter what, it's smart to put some points into strength because you're going to want to be, because you can only cast one major spell. You can't cast 2 spells as your extra attack.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to want to bang twice and do like a bonus action. And a lot of their spells are like, searing smite or blank smite, where you add something to the melee attack. So you want your to hit to be high. So yeah, I think going charisma and then strength right after it is really smart. I think dex and intelligence are probably the dump stats for paladin on most.
You always want a decent con.
Yeah.
And it's always fun too to build like this in a party because you guys can kind of diversify too. You can talk about what skills you're gonna have.
I'm gonna be pretty charisma'd out as well. So we got 2 faces for the party, and then I'm gonna have.
But his face is like armor as well. Like that's
Yeah.
the thing about the paladin. So
He'll be
he's
the
also a
intimidator.
tank. He's a yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's that.
and then I'm gonna have
Erica, what's
+2
the
for
druids?
wisdom.
I've never played with
So
or played a
fun.
druid. So what is their casting modifier and all that kind of shit? Are they like heavy wisdom?
I was on mute. Int and whiz. Wisdom is the full word.
That's perfect because intelligence, especially with being, I'm kind of blanket coding and saying apothecary like vibes. Is that kind of the vibe you were going for?
No, he's not really the apothecary himself. But he's the one who is getting things for the apothecary, for the poisoner, for the brewer. He's finding the ingredients that they would then use. He's not using them himself. So he's helpful in that way. So
I feel like this
he's
is a
learning to
dude
figure out what's there.
truffles. Like truffle hunting.
That is exactly what it is. Exactly 100%. I'm playing a truffle pig. Guess what my first form is going to be as soon as I get the chance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so shape-shifting, right? Wild
Oh
shape.
yeah. It's going to be a whole thing.
So
So
you're
funny.
int and whiz, which means intelligence, like investigation, is going to be your strength as well as perception. The other two are going to be more charisma based. That's the face. So that leaves a lot of strength between the paladin and I guess Kala. You're sort of going more. Are you going like melee? Are you sure ranger?
I don't know yet actually because I get really dumb around this program, so I need help. I shared my screen.
I don't
know what I'm doing wrong. So okay, so here's page 1, right?
Yeah.
And I am Kala of Parfu.
Nice.
And which sources am I allowed here?
Allow
It's just Rick
or
and
restrict.
Morty. I don't know.
Don't use that. Don't use any
Obviously not. I mean, okay, so then these are unchecked and I'm good.
of that. I think so. Yeah. I don't use
Okay.
it. So
Yeah, you're fine.
optional class features.
Okay,
I don't
this
know
is
what that
correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
This is the
there
first
you
time I've used this too, Ahmed. So you're completely in good company.
Shout out to Tabaxis. Woo
Woo,
woo.
woo.
No, I've used it before, but I just never I've
Man,
never
I
gotten
always
good
forget
at it. Yeah.
how squishy level 1 characters are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have 8 health so far.
Man.
Is anyone rolling hit points or are you all
Well,
doing...
for first level, you take
No.
your
Oh,
max,
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
or else
But
you'd have
also,
like 3 hit points.
I agree with you on point buy. I do everything point buy because I just think it's
Always do point by personally.
So one of the first D&D games I ever played, we had a lot of fun with, and when we created characters at the table, we rolled 46 drop 1, and we took the characters, the scores for the abilities in the order that we rolled them as well. So you would roll 46, drop the lowest, and then that was your strength. Didn't matter if you were not playing a fighter. If you got a high number, that was that.
It's fun in theory,
Oh.
but sucks in
Well,
actuality.
we rolled the stats and then we picked what our race class was going to be, so we could kind of like roll with it a
though,
little
that
bit.
like fits you into one that you might not want to do. You're
Well-
like, well, my strength is +3, so I guess I can't play the trickster.
Well, no, I thought you rolled the scores and then you would drop the lowest of like the 2 lowest scores, and then whatever else you would just assign to each ability.
No,
as you go.
they roll them in order.
Really? Oh, that is
Yeah,
rough.
But it was honestly, it
This-
was kind of fun because it, like constraints allow for creativity, right? So you're
I feel
forced
like
to play
they-
something
yeah.
that you maybe wouldn't have ever played before.
I
It
don't
was a
know
lot
if
of fun.
constraints allow for creativity,
Yeah,
so they
but-
force creativity.
Encourage.
Yeah. Well, but also like you end up like I feel like all the games we played where you like let there be additional random like qualities of the game that you could end up with like a character with a score of 3 in one stat, and you would just have to be like, okay, well,
Yeah.
3.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I would totally do that for a one shot. Absolutely. Why? Who cares? But campaign, like how many games did that campaign run?
Oh
for?
no, it was a one shot.
Well,
Oh, there you go. That's fine then.
that's totally different. I
Yeah.
thought you said campaign.
No, one of the first games of D&D.
Oh yeah, no. Well, then to me that's no different than just grabbing a sheet off the table at a convention, which I would totally do. Anytime I'm doing a one shot, I'm like, sure, I'm like a bard, whatever. Like it doesn't matter. I'm gonna die after this, so it doesn't matter. But like if you're putting effort into your character sheet, it always feels better to have somebody you're excited to play, which I'm encouraging all of you to do. And I'm really excited with who you've picked. Obviously, for the minimal time I've given you, you've all put a lot of thought into who you want to play, which is exciting.
Mhm.
So where's the hex blade at, Jill?
Okay, so so far I've got 9 hit points. I'm
Meaty.
yeah. I've got my +3 in charisma, +2 in wisdom and dex, +1 to my con, and 0 for intelligence and strength.
As is tradition.
As is tradition. I get to have dark vision, which is nice. I think we all are gonna
Everyone
have
has
dark
dark vision.
vision.
No.
Right?
Oh wait.
The orcs do.
Yeah, you
yeah.
do. So let's not worry about
I'm not gonna
to
brag
me,
about it.
That's one of those things that I think I like dark vision, but I kind of wish it wasn't a thing because
Yeah.
it's kind of fun to be in a dungeon with a lantern and like crowded around and trying to figure out.
Yeah, man, I agree.
You know what
But
I mean?
you know, it started when you started being able to play orc races, right? Because
Yeah.
D&D second edition, there wasn't any of that, so therefore
exactly.
the dark
Which I
vision was
get.
always steps away. You know,
To me now it's just like, well, if everybody has it, then you might as well just give it to everybody
Because then it's like the one fuck who needs a
the one
torch,
human who's
and
like,
everyone.
"I need a torch here.
yeah. But then they end up getting a modification at some level later.
Well, that's
or
it.
goggles
You get
or
the
whatever.
goggles of the night, which you can buy in every corner store.
So it kind of, but you're right. It's the value of dark vision is in fact diminished because of
Me,
because of
I remember reading something about homebrew rules, and they were just like, I don't do much, but I cut out dark vision, and their justification was entirely awesome. They were like, because it loses so much of that ambience when you don't have that flickering torch in the tomb of the rotting king. Like that to me is something that's so cool. Whereas if you just see 60 feet in front of you all the time, then what's the point of being in a dungeon to a degree? So that's a really funny thought. But
That's
I'm not
fair.
going to worry about it.
I can get behind that argument, but I also hate it.
You hate the argument?
I said I could get behind it. I also hate it.
What do you hate about it?
Well, mostly because right now I'm building a character with dark vision. I'm like,
I do remember I did play in a campaign where we had somebody who didn't have dark vision, the odd one out. But I was playing a different druid for that one, and I did have the dark vision spell. So it was interesting to be like, I'm sacrificing a potentially good spell purely to give this one help. And that was cool that way. And it spells a lot.
Yeah. Well, because there's also a lot of cool light spells, like dancing lights and like that glow orb that can follow you around or whatever.
Yeah.
Orb or whatever. Those are really cool things.
Fire?
Just
fire.
Straight up traditional fire. To me, I feel like dark vision should be like for goblins and like just goblins, and then have those little bastards running around in caves shanking your Achilles tendon, and that's it. And then everyone else is screwed.
So you're saying we should be playing goblins. Got it. Reroll, everybody.
Everyone, goblin party.
Goblin campaign.
But it'll be interesting.
Yo, say the word. Say the word. I got.
I'm like super serious. I'm serious if you're serious. I mean, if not, then it's a joke.
I'm serious if yours.
But we said it at the same time. Okay, let's just say this. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's interesting because there are a lot of those types of rules that I could see working themselves into a 6th edition. They said a few times that 5th is sort of their last, or at least they're for a long time. But it's interesting because I do find there are some things that like that are becoming a lot bigger, that are starting to change the way people are playing. Same with and again, shout out to Eugene Marshall, who has the alternative race and class background supplement, which again, we could use on this too, where your race isn't bound to certain abilities that you have, which is really cool. And maybe we should look at that too.
Mine's working that way, which is handy. Basically, it just says at first level, you can choose whether your character is a member of the human race or one of these fantastical races. And then alternatively, it says when you create a character using a lineage option here, you can, instead of taking the ones from the player's handbook, you can just choose one ability score and increase it by 2, and then choose a different one and increase it by 1. Or you can increase 3 different scores by 1.
So yeah, you already have that in your character, which is something that I can see them implementing. So maybe we should allow that for everybody, because I think that's a really smart thing. And for those
Just frees you up.
uninitiated, or even you guys who are confused, remember when we made S5E characters, your background wasn't tied to your race. So, for instance, or sorry, not background. Your race wasn't tied to your lineage or whatever the heck. Like, for instance, Gary's Connor, we picked the from the future, you know.
Yeah.
But also you were human or something. I'm doing a terrible job explaining.
I was a kinetic. Oh, I was from the future because of how he had modified himself, but I wasn't from the future.
Exactly.
The kind of mindset of him would suited the from the future archetype best.
Exactly, because it wasn't tying something that D&D 5th edition does tie together. That book being one of Eugene Marshall's, who wrote the Ancestry book, sort of separates them so that your ancestry is not based on your ability scores or anything like that. You can choose, i.e. if you're an orc with a human parent or a this parent versus an orc with a dwarf parent and a gnome parent. Well, I guess you need one of them to be an orc. You know what I mean, though? Like it kind of cuts down that way. So that'll be something that I'll send to you guys after, and we can incorporate that if you so choose. It just kind of gives you more versatility in how you want to play your said character.
I appreciate it from like a progressive, like social standpoint, where you don't have to tie certain characteristics in to different kinds of people.
Yeah,
which makes sense to me, because like not, you know, old school first edition D&D was like, if you want to play a woman, you can't be strong.
Yeah,
right.
You're weaker than the men.
You don't get to have a high strength score, but if you're sexy, you can have a higher charisma score than men, which you can see how that's problematic.
Well,
right?
but not only that, even like absolutely, that's 100% valid, and that's a really obvious like way that they need to start changing this, and I'm glad they do. But even so far as just the way people tend to play role-playing games now, you know, in the 80s, when you saw orcs sitting around a campfire, you were going to kill those orcs, full stop. Those were meant to be there to be slaughtered. Now, with sort of the way people are doing away with preconceived notions, aka we have a group of tieflings, hexbloods, orcs, and half-orcs. When you come across a band of orcs, you're not going to attack them. You're going to be like, hey, what's up,
buddy?
Hey, guys.
Orcs.
Finally, some fun people.
Orc or uke. But yeah, it's definitely changing the way that you get to see, which to me is important, because even from a storytelling standpoint, a 3-dimensional character is important. That goes through and through, whether it's a player character or an NPC.
Yeah.
If you meet someone and in the first second you know they're evil just because they're an orc, that's bad storytelling beyond all the problematic elements, because that's just, you know, Lord of the Rings isn't even that stupid, you know, where you're like, Wormtongue even has a little bit of, you know, shades of gray here. Everyone here has not seen Lord of the Rings, I can tell. We all haven't seen Lord of the Rings.
I know Wormtongue.
Call me out like that.
Wormtongue, stop.
Not only have I seen it, I've read them. Oh, well, I did read them years ago.
No,
And,
I know you're talking about the second one. The two.
I've
towers.
seen all the memes.
The horse tribe.
Gotta get extended editions.
There we go. I knew.
If you pause it just right, I'll go. And it'll be
Thank
great.
you. Thank you, Aaron. Aaron just sent me the guide. I knew if I said it. Current ancestry, culture, and alternative to race. I'm sending it to you guys in the chat. Feel free to take a look at this.
Cool.
This is the most up-to-date version of exactly what we're
Thanks,
talking about.
Eugene.
Well, this is actually Aaron sent it to us, but it's from Eugene.
Thanks,
so
Aaron.
It's by Eugene. So.
And that was up for an award recently, wasn't it?
It was.
Yes.
I don't. The Ennies
The Ennies.
finish.
I think the
I don't
nominations
know.
and the voting is closed. I don't know if the awards were announced.
No, you know what? Because I think they're at Gen Con, and I don't think Gen Con's happened yet.
Great
Or
question.
Did Gen Con happen?
Gen Con might be this
Gen
weekend. Who
Con.
knows? I'm curious about people's backgrounds. That's always a part of character creation that I feel like people kind of skip over without thinking about too much. But it gives you skill proficiencies.
Sure.
It gives you starting
Yeah.
equipment. And I wonder if anyone had any interesting background choices.
Yeah, I did. Because I kind of already mapped out the general feel without getting into the specific details. So I kind of just picked everything that forced itself to fit into that. So in his mind, he's a folk hero. Because he's helping his friends. He's always there doing what they ask and pitching in. So as far as he's concerned, he's got great friends. And that's That's what we're dealing with. Alignment, he's going to be lawful neutral. He is, again, doing what he's told. He's not challenging things, but whatever he hears is what he's going to follow, and he's going to stick to that and do the job well.
Nice.
And then personality, anything that I could think of to be like, you need better friends. I know you grew up with them, but they aren't treating you the way you should be treated. Blind to that. So that is the plan. I hope I'm not bringing back anybody's memories. A little too relatable, I think.
No, you do.
We're close to home there.
That's awesome.
No, it's
I love
okay.
it.
That just gives us an arc. We can all live through him together.
We need an arc.
That's right.
That's what every,
Yeah.
Humans, us
every
humans.
game needs a good. Every character needs a good arc.
Yeah, I think I'm choosing Far Traveler.
Nice.
That works.
That one's I'm from a faraway place, so I'm imagining Parfu's not, your typical orc, and they're not your typical orcs, so I'm imagining that even before we travel, where I'm from somewhere else, I'm from a very different kind of place. Like I see the way the orcs are here, and they're different, and they're treated differently, and people see them different. So I'll definitely have that kind of that adds that kind of a flavor to the character.
Cool.
That's awesome. So I will quickly, before we go through the rest, because I think this is actually really important now that you guys have the file, to talk really quickly about this and what it is exactly, which is, again, ancestry, culture, and alternative race. So to clarify, now that I've refreshed, what it does is it separates your ancestral traits from your cultural traits. And what that means is, like, the dwarven ancestral traits are like the age, your size, your speed, whether you have dark vision, your resistances, your toughness. So like if you're playing a dwarf, your ancestral traits are all those things. But your cultural traits are the mechanics like your ability scores, your alignments, your combat training, and your tool proficiencies. And all this document does, and I want to encourage you guys 100% to use it if you want, is it separates them so you can mix and match. For example, Ahmed, your character, the way you're talking about her, she very well might have the cultural traits of an orc. She might have the stats, the strength, the combat training, the proficiencies, but her ancestral traits could be elven from like the way you're talking about her, which would then give her dark vision, the speed of an elf, the size of an elf. You know what I mean? Like you can mix and match in that way. And that's kind of the way this book works, is just making those two, they're independent, so that you're not tied into, well, I'm an orc, I have to be this old, I have to be this slow, I have to be this. And I think as we're talking about this, and especially I want to encourage this because the Hexblade already incorporates an aspect of that. It already sort of separates it for you to define your character more. And between a tiefling paladin, a half-orc druid, and an orc ranger, I definitely think, like, I could even see the druid, having like maybe the cultural traits of the half-orc, or exactly like you said, the ancestral traits of the half-orc. So he looks like a half-orc, but maybe culturally you've been around, gnomes or something for so long, Erica, that he has, maybe better intelligence, better wisdom, because to play a half-orc is brilliant as a druid. But exactly what we talked about at the beginning of this is we don't want to play punishing statistics, right? It's not fair to get an advantage to strength. But if you played an ancestral or a half-orc with a culture of like gnomish or even halfling culture, which I think is great role-playing, because I think it's so cool to like justify that. And I could 100% see that. But also then you're not punished with the stats and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense for everybody?
Yeah.
I think I made a slight adjustment that way, where they have the menacing racial trait.
Yeah.
And you had the chance to swap that. I swapped that.
Yeah.
I forget what it is that I took. I think it was, I don't know, investigation or something like that. Something. Medicine. I took something else. I will figure out what it is. I just did it 5 seconds ago. But this is not a very spooky half-orc. He's not leaning into any of that fear. He doesn't have that drive to intimidate. Or at least he doesn't have the personality, the charisma to literally intimidate anybody or persuade them or put on a good show. He just does what he's told. He's not that impressive.
That's fair. I love that. Proficiency in the intimidation skill. He does not have, or at least doesn't need it. Cool. Okay.
Maybe he's more dexterous. Sleight of hand. You have to pick tiny berries from a tree, Swap that out for something else cool.
He's looky and not die.
Looky and not die.
The two most important things for any adventurer.
Can you give a girl double inspiration for session 0?
Good job. Gary, talk to us a little bit about what you're thinking for background.
Let me go back into the edit thing because I was kind of torn. One of them,
like Natalie Imbruglia.
Lying naked.
Nothing's right, I'm torn. My background is not right. Okay. So I've picked soldier simply because the description is war has been your life for as long as you care to remember. Basically, that's a nice basic background for him. I would love to be able to do, and maybe I can, to do haunted one.
That's from this.
That's the Strahd.
That's from this guy.
All right.
That's the one I'm looking at, actually.
Let me have a look and read it out here.
Hmm.
You see, I don't think it can fit for me because I'm haunted by a thing I very readily will speak of. Like, he doesn't try to bury it away. He's like, no, I've taken my oath. I was terrible. I'm not anymore. I'm trying not to be. So he's in his head, yes, he is haunted by it.
But maybe he's like open to talking about that, but maybe he's not open to talking about the inciting incident that made him want to change.
Ooh, I like that. He doesn't want to be sensy.
You know what I mean? Like, he's like, I want to give up my old ways. And when someone's like, yeah, but what were they? He's like, something happened. And you're like,
that was me.
What? You're like, I can't talk about it.
Well, I can do that unless, but I don't like, well, if Joe wants to do it too, that's cool. Or we can just like mix and match.
I'm torn also.
I honestly love the idea of you two feeding each other lies of what you think is the right answer.
And what we think the other person wants to hear the whole time.
Mm-hmm. And especially as you two get to know each other, or especially as contradictions start coming out, having to jump to recraft your backstory for public viewing.
For me to try to poke holes in what you said.
Yeah, man. So I'm torn also between Haunted One, which to me really fits in with my race and my story about what the Hexblood creature, where she came from, and also Entertainer, which is just a gimme for a bard, right?
You're torn between Haunted One and an Entertainer.
Well, that's my character,
I know.
right? She's like,
laughing.
she's got this strange past and the strange transformations that are happening. And then also she's like, but I make my money by singing to a bunch of people.
We're all role-playing our high school experiences, aren't we?
Oh, no. Oh, no, Erica. Does that mean you felt like your friends
sweet burn.
No, I had pretty decent friends, so we're good. I don't talk to them anymore because we all kind of parted ways through life. No, we never got to go to anybody's cottage. You know what? I'm playing the escapist version where I wish I had friends who had a cool cottage.
Oh, I have a cool cottage.
Now you have a friend with a cool
adult life, always better than being a kid.
Hang out.
I mean, I'm saying that. I haven't been to your cottage, so you know what? Just taunt me with that, why don't you?
Sorry.
What is deep speech?
Ooh.
As a language.
Is
Never heard of it.
That I think that's what, like whatchamacallit's talk.
I forget.
It's not primordial. It's
that Illithid's talk.
Aberrations.
Is it? Deep speech.
It's earthy. I know it's something to do with.
I think Illithid might be right, Harlan. Or is that abyssal?
No, not drow.
Abyssal?
It was a language of aberrations.
Spoken by aberrations. Yeah, I think it is the Illithid language.
I don't think my guy can speak that.
What?
I'm trying to think of a creature that would speak.
Illithid.
He can speak abyssal. Abyssal.
Abyssal.
Spoken by aboliths, cloakers, aberration, mind flayers, and beholders.
I was also thinking aboleth.
So yeah, I have been captured by personality trait section, and I want to discuss it with you guys, but I want to make sure you guys are up to it before we rock.
I'm
out.
so
Top
ready.
gun.
I'm starting to like paint a picture here. It's really
Okay.
He's on the
and
next
I think
page.
it's a really cool idea.
Personality
Just-
traits. Lay it on us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no. So what's cool about this is that like
Oh, she's only 23.
I get to mold the character around some of these ideas. So like, what's really cool, I love this right here. Small
Read it out for us.
traditional rituals that are. Oh, I begin or end my day with small traditional rituals that are unfamiliar to those around me.
Oh, I love
that
that.
idea. Yeah, I really love
kind
that
of ritual
idea.
are you
so
thinking?
I selected that one. Yeah. So then I have to select another one, but like, I don't know. I wanted help, advice, something.
Awesome,
these-
Jesse.
I have
Jesse's
to
creating
choose from
characters.
these.
Join us.
Join us. Let me
So,
just.
No.
It's hard for me to see these.
Yeah, it's
Sorry. Oh, you can't read. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
It's
sorry.
just kinda
Hang on.
blurry,
I can,
that's
I
all.
can, I can do something
fine,
about
it is.
this.
Zoom in a little. Yeah.
number
yeah.
4 and 5 seem to complement each other.
Oh, that's perfect.
All right, there we go. So anyway, this is
Oh,
my
I like number 3.
Number 3. I have a strong code of honor
Or sense of propriety.
or a sense of propriety that others don't comprehend. I thought of that one, but
But like you could make it specific. You could be like
done.
maybe like the idea of sleeping in a tent is like offensive, like or bathing more than once a week or something. Like there's like a sense of you could do whatever you wanted. I mean, are you for sure going straight up?
That's like Balki Bartakamus, right? Like like
Yeah.
it's
Are
like-
you for sure
Understood.
going straight up orc? You don't want to do this ancestry culture thing?
What do you mean?
don't have
What do you
to.
mean? No, I am orc. I am straight up orc.
Okay. Just because I mean I could totally see like an elven twist on this character, like raised like an orc raised by elves or something like that. It'd be really cool.
I actually took your advice and chose the Elven language as one of my languages.
Nice.
So
I
well,
like that.
yeah. Okay. Is there
See,
any
so
advantage?
I was looking at them as being neighborly, so and the concept is that she knows of their ways. They probably trade something. Like something that this orc tribe makes to
Yeah.
that elven tribe.
Well, consider it because you could swap out your orcish ancestral for the elven if you wanted to like be so familiar with them. It's not going to be on Beyond, but we'll talk about it after anyway.
Oh, cool.
I like that.
Absolutely.
Dude does got to go like the idea of like the code of honor or whatever else. Like you described a character who was ejected from her family, from her entire home
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
standing her ground.
exactly.
That to me sounds like a code of honor.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, totally. True. So I see her as open. So I have much to learn from the kindly folk I meet along the way.
Yeah.
So I see her as like, like Aang, or something like along the lines of that. So long as I have this token from my homeland, I can face any adversity in the strange land, and that's ink. That's ink.
I was gonna say that's got to be your companion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Ink blot spot. What did I call it?
Inkfoot.
Inkfoot. Yeah, that's good.
All that reminds me of is Dances with Wolves. I will call him White Socks.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking, that tribal. I was
love
trying to
it.
go for something tribal.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then I guess this is the last one here. So let's see.
I am seeking
Hmm.
for exotic beauty. I think it should be something like something really negative. I like to me the idea of having a weakness for new intoxicants. I like not necessarily that, but I like the idea of having a flaw that is actually a flaw. Like you see somebody drinking, you're like, oh shit, I gotta drink that. You know what I mean? Like a real ailment.
I don't want to choose a flaw that's gonna make me righteous or
Yeah.
a
Because like to me,
I
I have a weakness for the exotic beauty of this land. It's like, okay, like what are you gonna do? You're like, oh, this tree's nice. Okay, good job.
Although,
I mean, some characters might be doing that, Harlan. I don't know what you're talking
exotic
about.
beauty. No, I have a weakness. I have a weakness for the exotic beauty of the people exotic beauty of the people of these lands, meaning I'm easily taken, right? Like,
Yeah, but to
like,
me, that's less of a flaw. I mean, don't get me wrong, that is a flaw, but that's like a innocent flaw. It's kind of like, oh, like let's help our friend. Whereas if you're like, nah, I need money, or nah, I need the drink, or I'm not dealing with this person, you know, like it's a flaw that the others have to try to struggle with you handling.
She's so young, right? Sorry, Erica. Kala was ejected from her tribe because she stood up to the chieftain about his unfair practices.
Hard-headed.
To me, that says hard-headed, young, strong-willed to a fault.
Vegan.
But you also mentioned having a character who was trying to find this flower to actually prove herself. That seems like a weakness. The second you hear any hint, you're gone.
That's true.
It's more of a conceptual weakness in
Like,
that sense,
yeah.
but like really easy to kind of throw that way.
Well, you know what you could do then? Take Eric, like take that and well, combine them both. Be like where you are, like hard-headed towards the idea of seeking your goal. You know, like you are immovable in your path towards finding this. Nothing will stop you from attaining that flower, and no one can tell you that it does not exist. No, you know what I mean? Like that kind of level of bullheadedness, I think, kind of encompasses both almost. Or it could just be something, you know, totally off. Can't not eat mushrooms when she sees them.
We're gonna get along great.
can't not eat mushroom. Can't not eat mushroom.
I don't know. What are
So,
some great plots?
So what about this one here? I am secretly convinced, or not so secretly convinced, of the superiority of my own culture over that of this foreign land. So my honor and my culture and my belief that I should be expelled makes it so that I am a little bit arrogant about it.
I don't think that really meshes well with how she's so open to learning from other
correct.
people.
Correct.
Unless she's learning
So,
it to use it against them later. Like it depends on how insidious you want to be about it. You're inviting whatever information you can, but you're not giving anything back. You're closed-lipped about that. Which means if you don't go that route, if you want my advice, because that'll give us 3 tight-lipped characters.
Or you could potentially be interested in other cultures the way that, you know, from an intellectual curiosity while still being staunch in your own perspective, right?
So I'm reading
So
a few.
I have a weakness for the exotic beauty of the people of these lands.
So you could do something like you are enamored with a specific thing and you would do anything to try to save them, even if it's a lost cause type thing. You could be terrible with money. You could talk your thoughts out loud too much.
Oh, no, it's fine.
You could be pessimistic. That sounds unfun.
Yeah, no, I guess she's gonna be naive, right?
Yeah.
Easily taken. Yeah, that's probably a good one.
Naive, maybe easily taken, but no, more so naive, like just doesn't know her way around stuff.
Because
But
she
everyone's
grew
going to
up,
be naive in a new world, right?
but her especially because she's ill-traveled, right? She knows the wilds and she knows her tribe, but she doesn't. And like you said, they had dealings with the local elves, but she doesn't necessarily know all the peoples of the world.
True, but I feel like that's going to be true for a lot of you, especially with what I'm. And
but
this
not
is more
naive
me,
about it.
Yeah,
well, what
yeah,
I
good
mean to
point,
say is
good
me
point.
forcing you into a new scenario. It might not be as.
Right.
What about
Naive
this?
Naive has a counterpoint not to being learned, but to being suspicious, right? She's always going to look at someone as a good opportunity or a friend, as opposed to, you know,
So that's
what
what I mean. Being taken. Well,
Yeah.
that's what I was sort of implying.
rather. Well, you're just saying because none of us are going to know anything about the world. I'm saying that may be true, but naive as a counterpoint to being suspicious as opposed to naive.
Well, I
as
just
a
wanted to give
counterpoint.
Ahmed the opportunity to play like a flaw up without making it feel like it's a flaw that everyone kind of might be sharing. That's all. If it's going to be different,
Fair.
then I don't care. It's not.
No, good point. Good point.
One last one that just came, which I do think could be kind of cool for a 23-year-old character, and it sort of fits into what we're talking. I follow my own whims. I like the idea that this could be someone who's like watching, you know, the camp. one night.
YOLO.
What?
YOLO.
No, but like,
Whims. Yeah, I
like-
got it. I
like
follow my
me.
whims, YOLO. I just wrote it in.
Yep.
It's done.
But like, you know, like I could see
It is
her
done.
watching the camp one night and meant to be on high alert, and then being like, I'm just gonna go to bed. I can't keep my eyes open. And then people
Or-
being like, what are you doing? Like you're supposed to, or hearing something and like walking off.
Being
you know,
like,
kinda
would you look at the stars tonight?
Yeah.
I have to go and find a better place to look
Oh,
at them,
God.
even if that takes me away from the camp.
following my own.
But-
That to me is
but-
such a young.
But Inkfoot, if we don't
You
see the
listening
moon
to
tonight,
23rd
then how will
No.
Graham know that how will Graham know that we were thinking of her?
For
Yeah.
real though, but the thing I like about that flaw is it's
Oh my god,
it's
she's
not a
musical
flaw to
now.
like them, right? But it's clearly a flaw to everybody else. To
Mhm.
be like, what do you do? Like
That's a good one.
you'd be in a market, you'd be like, where the fuck did Calico? Like, we're just here. Like,
Well,
like,
if that's the
Trying
case,
on
then
necklaces.
maybe I can add a flaw breaks into song.
ooh.
That's a good
No,
one.
no.
Is anyone else?
She
working
gets
on
wanders
the
off,
traits or
wanders
flaws
off.
It's
or-
really fun to think about. I don't think I know my character well enough, or maybe that's the whole point is we're learning.
Yeah, let's work on it.
This
that
one
was a-
is
that was
I'm
a really
naive,
good
I think
page.
owlbears
So
are
who's-
cuddly.
That's
Who's
good.
next? Who's next?
That's good.
That was a good page.
Garrus's flaw is my hatred of my enemies is blind and unreasoning. And he has to try and get over that
Ooh,
before he hits them.
that's a great one.
That's so funny because I was just reading one that says, I hate using violence, but I force myself to, which I think also sort of fits into your character.
I like that one a tiny bit more, especially if you're trying to do the recently redeemed route, in the sense that you are trying to find that balance of fighting without losing yourself to it. So
Difficult.
yeah. Like you're trying to restrain yourself. It's the difference between somebody who's, if I could say this, somebody who is an alcoholic and is around drinks, and it's like, I'll just take a little bit, like that kind of constant temptation. You don't want to go so far that you start to actually get back into it.
Yeah, that's so true. Some of these I feel personally attacked.
Like what? Give us a brief insight.
My favor once lost is lost forever. So I feel like I've definitely been like, no, of course. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? No, not gonna do that again. You know what? You know, I was nice, and now I'm never gonna do it
Don't
again.
get on his bad side.
It's good. I hate speaking. It's so restricted. If someone was playing a Kenku, that would be good.
That would be actually really, really cute.
Oh, this one reminds me of you.
Of me?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
is it? Is it bad?
No, it just says I'm clumsy. That's all. Which you are a little bit, but I love you for it. It's great. Hey, you'd be self-described clumsy, right?
I know
It's-
there's so many people who are like, I'm so clumsy. It's so
Yeah,
cute."
it's not a flaw, it's endearing. It's cute.
Yeah. It's good to me. I like it. We
There
only
you
lose
go.
half the beer each time. What about?
I think
what
think
about
Kala
you?
plays the flute.
Oh,
Nice.
cool.
You and me are gonna have some jam sessions.
Poorly
Yes,
or
listen.
exceptionally well?
I don't know. I haven't thought about
Medium.
Depends on
Well,
who you're asking.
actually, that is a question
it. At a
because,
medium pace.
like, if you don't have proficiency with certain things, like there are some magic items that, like, I know I once got a magic set of pipes that I couldn't use because I didn't have proficiency with woodwinds. So if you have like a mechanical proficiency, you know what I mean? That's going to be more advantageous than you just sort of passively learning it type thing, because then maybe magical items with that element could come to you in one way or another.
Cool.
What about Salat? Any personal flaws or ideas?
Yes. Beyond the ones that I mentioned in terms of ones where let's go to that one. Flaws. I'm convinced of the significance of my destiny and blind to my shortcomings and the risk of failure. And again, it's bringing into the whole idea of if he just keeps helping out his friends, everything's going to be fine. There's a gentle balance in what's going on. He knows enough to not upset it, so he's not going to think too much about it. It's what it is.
That's fair.
But I kind of worked that into a bit of his characteristics a little bit. I've decided he's going to be 62.
Ooh, I like that.
I want him to be kind of mentally and sort of physically set in his ways. If I could lean towards that way. He feels like he's so far into his life that there is no point in changing things now. So everything's reinforced that way.
I like this dude.
I do too so far.
Good show. Tell me you're gonna play him with like a Ringo Starr British accent, right?
If you want to inflict that upon everybody here, you better expect this thing to just
Dangerous.
Do
2
it.
episodes. That's what you're gonna get.
I can see. I don't know. For some reason, this old guy, I could see it, but no, Gary will be the accent person and a bit of Ahmed.
Gary and Ahmed can translate everything that Sal says into
Yeah.
that voice. Which now I'm knowing that his name is Sal is lending itself to different accents, but
Hey, oh, wait.
It's like,
that's what.
hey, walk in it.
Hey, you,
Hey.
Jay. Hey, oh, whoa, wait, hey.
It's really formal. I love it.
Eat that moss.
Oh wait, oh
You
wait,
wasted perfectly good moss.
wait, oh.
What about you, darling? Any traits?
I'm having a hard time. I'm wondering if maybe I might be in the wrong profession for this. I really like
Ooh.
my race.
But you think you might change Bard?
I think I might change Bard. I'm not
Yeah?
sure.
Well, let's think about this mechanically for a second, because that might help. So you are still on the fence, Ahmed, between Ranger, Fighter, Barbarian, or have you settled?
Yeah. Well, I think I've settled on Ranger after you gave me
Ranger.
the pep talk. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we have Ranger is going to be a high damage single target. So that's a good either ranged or
That's the way you play
Oh,
Ranger.
I'm gonna be dual
Drizzt.
sword.
yeah, but even that is still they're not AoE. They're going to be high damage single targets. 9
Oh, of
times.
course not. Well, at least
But
let me look at my
melee.
spells as well.
I'm only meaning to
Yeah,
say
spells
these are just
by
broad.
second level.
Druid is going to be more what support fighter, I suppose.
We're all
Like-
support.
Well, Ranger and Paladin, I would not say.
I mean, we're all going to be a mix of magic
right.
and
I'm just trying to help you paint a picture. I'm gonna say Ranger is gonna be high damage single target. Paladin is sort of gonna be single target mix of AoE. Druid, I think, is gonna be more support than anything else. So I think you kind of have an open bar in terms of what you want to play. I don't
An
think
open
anything is gonna
bard.
detract or an open bard. Yeah.
Can you still play Hex Blades in D&D 5e? A Hex Blood, Hex
Yeah.
Blade?
I don't know.
you can,
Hex blade.
Double hex.
but that's a different source book.
So what do we got? We got monk. We got cleric.
Hmm
We got fighter. We got
Barbarian. I was thinking rogue. Rogue could be interesting.
Rogue could be pretty good, especially if it's like a cool because there's like swashbuckler rogues, which their charisma is their modifier.
I'd be adding a new source book again.
Oh, would you?
Mm.
Well, then you got I think arcane is in the book. I think mastermind, assassin,
Hmm
and then what's the third one?
Let me just take a look.
There is the arcane, the assassin, and
Got assassin, arcane, trickster,
and one more. I'm forgetting.
and third one.
Which is the one I
Thief.
play. Thief. So, I mean, it also depends
Dirty
a bit
thief.
on what your character. I mean, I guess thinking about her, she wouldn't really be an assassin probably, but an arcane element could spring up after the hex blood.
So in my character's sort of backstory, I'm imagining her as being abandoned by her parents
Mm.
due to their guilt at the price that they paid, either for her existence or for something else to do with her. The payment proving to have been too much.
Mm.
So I'm imagining her on her own at a young age, and that's when I thought she would come be like caught up by a master in like a master pupil scenario. Now that could be thievery for sure. You could be out on the streets. Or I was thinking about like traveling minstrel style. But
What about Bard is kind of losing you?
honestly, when I was looking at the backgrounds, entertainer as a background felt like the most kind of likely.
Yeah.
And none of the personality traits really felt that. I didn't feel a pull towards any of them, apart from potentially I love a good insult, even one directed at me.
Well, I mean, personality traits, you don't have to use bardic personality traits.
Certainly not.
Yeah.
But then I'm kind of at a loss for my background.
Well,
Maybe
then
criminal.
maybe what makes sense is putting aside bard for a second. We talk about your personality traits and flaws, and then let that inform
the class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. And I think you're muted, by the way. Oh, you are.
Oh, I am. I am.
Oh,
Very
you
much
are.
am.
So you mentioned
Oh, I
that he
am.
was kind of like naive at first. Like a hexblade is somebody who's cursed, right? Like they change.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a little bit obscure and vague. There are 6 different origins that you can pick in the book, but then it also says, based on different domains of dread, they can come into existence in different ways. So, for instance, in the world of Haslan, which sounds like
Sounds
Harlan,
like my name.
it's one letter off.
Hey,
The
Hey.
bizarre magic of this crumbling domain exposes the populace to supernatural forces, occasionally giving rise to hexbloods. You just happen.
Oh,
Right.
Haslan.
Haslan.
I think,
Um,
wait, is it Aslan? Is that the
and
one?
then in the world of Kartakas, whimsical witches make their homes in the forests. They eagerly grant the wishes of locals seeking grand fortunes for their children. So I was imagining almost like a poor couple who didn't want the same livelihood for their child, maybe.
Mhm.
They got into an agreement with a woman of the woods, and then the gift that I was granted, perhaps of music, was, paid at a dear cost. And
Ah.
they felt so bad about keeping me around because of the reminder of that price they paid. Maybe the death of someone that they know, or someone else's misfortune in exchange for mine, that I was turned out.
Of their own.
Or their own, yeah.
They thought they couldn't go get lower, and it just got worse.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, well, maybe so they came to, so they brought the baby to them sort of to ask for it to be talented.
Yeah, I think so. Like, hey, we're cobblers. We've been doing this our whole life. We can't imagine, we have this child. We don't want to bring our child up to be poor like we are. Is there something we can do?
Maybe the curse was the hexblood. Maybe they're like, yeah, of course. And then the baby sprouted horns and they're like, this is a monster.
Well, and so that's what I think is going to happen to my character, is that on her 8th birthday, she becomes a hag as well.
Oh, it's like sudden.
She's
Like
turning
X-Men.
there. Like she's becoming
Oh, it's a slow
evil slowly.
transition.
I think so.
Oh, that's brutal.
Okay, so you're mentioning a couple of things that I really, really like, and especially the part where you said that the back story being an entertainer. What it kind of sounds like is one of the deals that could have been made is we want her to succeed in life, but we want her to succeed by bringing joy.
Yeah.
And that was translated as let's bring music. We're gonna bring her that talent. And if she was then abandoned at some point, she then got into the idea that possibly she was going to earn her keep. She was going to bring joy, and that was going to bring her, some of her own joy, essentially. So she became an entertainer, trying to get other people around her, trying to find her new place in the world, and then from there became who she is.
I like that.
I like that. Yeah. Okay, well, following that same thing, what if she did get there? What if you became a star and then the hexblood came in?
Ooh.
Like you were a, I don't know why Madonna, but a more relevant Madonna.
Fantasy Madonna.
I'm trying to think of a more
Modern
relevant,
fantasy Madonna.
a Lady Gaga. I don't know, but you became really popular, like maybe
Billie
one of the,
Eilish.
because realistically, bards must have a most famous bard,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Like
of
music
course.
exists in this world, more or less. There must be a. Now I'm my
Bardano.
David Bowie. My references are so but
Like Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
But like a really most popular bard, and then
Celine
on your
Dion,
whatever.
guys, come on. She's like,
No, she needs to have
she's
moves
from
like
your
Jagger.
country.
Times.
Sammy Davis Jr. Guys,
Scary
you don't like
Spice.
Sammy Davis? Oh, Glenn Miller's orchestra. Their newest break is the best. Please, I tell you. No,
You guys heard
but
of Handel?
and then on her 18th birthday or 20th birthday or something, the horn, and then she's so she feels like she's so hideous, and that she goes back home. She tries to find her parents. She talks to the witches, and they're like, no, this is like permanent, forever now. This is you. And she abandons her whole life. And maybe that's part of the reason why.
Maybe or could you be a witch? That's a class, right? She could be a witch.
I mean,
You are
yeah,
now a witch.
you could be sorcerer or whatever.
Yeah.
No, isn't there like specifically like a witch or like
I
a?
think so. Maybe an Unearthed Arcana thing or a homebrew thing.
It's possible.
But does she eventually, like, where do you see her feeling about how she is right now? Like, is she seeing
I
bandages?
see her not realizing right now that this is something that's going to continue to get worse and worse. So she doesn't really know what the final
Countdown.
stage is. Maybe she just thinks like, I've got horns or whatever, and I can like pull my teeth out, and that's just a thing.
You seem not convinced by the background, though, even.
By the background?
Yeah, you seem sort of... Okay, here's a question. You walk into a tavern,
Mhm.
and you're looking for someone, and the bartender says, hey, how are you doing? How do you speak? How do you talk? And how do you get what you want? Is it aggressive? Is it kind? Is it query? Is it innocent? What is your most excited way to play this character?
I think she is kind and deceptive.
Okay. So she's got an edge.
Yes.
Yeah. To me, that speaks more rogue right off the bat. Like just in terms of like somebody who's got that sort of mind for it. To me, that already skews slightly to being a more
persuasion and sleight of hand sort of thing.
Yeah. So then maybe you're fighting too hard against. I think maybe there's an element of your background that you're excited about, but I think it's too difficult to try to incorporate in the latter.
Yeah,
half.
because I think the like strange thing that's going on with her transformation doesn't fit right for me with like entertainer.
Yeah. So
I kind of think it's not to force you into Bard, but I am getting a lot of confidence from your character. Yes, she's not really sure what she's going up against, but I see her kind of going into the bar, ordering whatever she does, fully fine. And then, tooth comes out, fine, puts that to the side, acts like nothing's going on, and then just keeps, regardless of the reaction she gets, just keeps going on with what she's doing. So
that also plays to me with like a swashbuckler rogue, because like the swashbuckler rogue is like a brash like subclass of the rogue that uses charisma. They're like storytellers, but they're devious, and they're like, like a fat sack of gold is sitting in a pocket next to you. You could pilfer a few. Do you take a few, or are you like, nah? And that's a legit question for you.
My character?
Yeah.
I think she sees how easy it is and wants to make it harder for herself.
Yeah.
I think she's going to take the gold no matter what.
Yeah.
But she's going to turn it into a game.
To me, I think you're playing a rogue, and
that sounds more roguelike.
Yeah. I think, and you know what? I'm not worried about +1 for that character necessarily. If you want to pull in another background like a rogue mastermind. There's also a rogue mastermind, which is a really cool
I'll
one.
take a look at some other sources.
Which is like and you know what? You can have it that all of what you said is true. Okay, yeah, your parents brought you there. They gave you a flute. You were talented and you were successful. And then you abandoned that when you got this. And now you're hard on the rogue path. Like that can just be flavor,
Yeah.
You saying that you want to make things harder for yourself comes across as the idea that you are a fantastic musician. That's why you're not going to bother being a bard. You can do that.
Like I could do that easy.
Whatever.
Or you got orphaned.
Yeah.
And then you had to like you raised on the streets and you became a rogue that way.
Well, I think that's kind of part of it, is that when she got turned out of her home, that she had to rely on other means, right? And whether that's music or whether that's stealing.
It could have been both. It could have been the idea that you could earn your money for a while. Then you realize how much easier and faster it was. Just kind of.
Nice.
Or when
Busking.
you get to a tavern and you spend your whole night there busting your ass, playing music for a bunch of drunk people, and they don't pay you properly. And that's when you sneak back in and you go into every room in the middle of the night and you take just a couple extra gold.
And then you like the feeling of that. And then the next night, even though they pay you, you don't feel like they paid you enough at the next tavern. So you do it again. And then someone catches you and you drive a dagger into their heart.
And you don't really feel bad about it.
Yeah, so you know what? You can choose rogue from the from the
No, but
feed-
like
from
we can
the-
flavor it different, right? Like you steal, but they catch you.
It's
and
kind of
they
making
chase you out, and then you're in the back alley. No one's around. You have a dagger in your hand. Did you take it? Did you say, "Okay, this is the only person that witnessed me stealing from this place. I'm alone back here." You know, I think maybe she does. Maybe she does quickly draw her blade across his neck and then run.
It's funny because I've literally never played a D&D character that wasn't blah 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 good.
Yeah.
It was
Wow.
always good.
Mm.
I've never played a neutral character or an
Yeah.
evil character. I don't think evil is a good place to start,
You jump, I jump.
but
No, Ahmed, your character's really good. I like your
your
character.
character's
No, I've-
great. But I think my chick is going to be neutral.
Well,
at
I think
best.
what I think is
Whoa.
most exciting is now we have a character that is a lawful good tiefling paladin
Mhm.
paired up with a hexblood rogue that's true neutral or chaotic neutral. And I feel like not only will the paladin be trying to pull this clearly sort of swaying hexblood to the light, but the hexblood will be pulling this once vile tiefling to
Exactly.
the dark. That's a great dynamic.
This is
Do
perfect. I love this.
Then we got
I
the
love the
mushroom.
dynamic.
It's like,
It's gonna be like a cop informant relationship.
Yeah.
I also see Sal and Kala having a really good relationship too, because I do see you two off foraging and like, you know, you are one with nature, Kala, and so are you, Sal, like to the degree of like being inquisitive and knowledgeable. You know, your intelligence modifier is gonna inform so much about the world. It's
see the harmony.
necessary for a campaign like this to be a character like you, because
Mhm.
there's gonna be a lot of like you enter into a wood and you're gonna be like, well, what tree is that, and what
Mhm.
can we eat in this wood, and like all that kind of stuff, you know.
This is actually a first for me too. I don't think I've ever played a lawful character before. So
Nice.
I have
Yeah,
tried
yeah.
and then I failed. So I went from a paladin. That didn't work out. So I went to Blackguard Paladin,
Oh no.
which was basically described as a paladin with rage issues. That was great. So this is going to be the first time I try doing and lawful neutral at that, seeing how that goes out. But I like the room we have to play off of each other for that.
Yeah, and like I said, with these campaigns, it's going to be, you know, I'm excited to see the characters deviate from their prescribed roles to a degree. I mean, if the
Absolutely.
paladin goes evil, he's going to lose his powers, so we'll see how that works out. But
I'm actually curious about that. What are your thoughts about alignment changes?
oh, 100%, you do whatever makes sense. To me, if we are telling a story. Role playing is about telling a story. I don't care what system you are playing. Like, if in the story your character has motivations, no matter how lawful good you've written them to change their mind, then we change it and we go with that. I would never be like, oh no, so unless you're just doing a bad job at playing it, unless you're like you don't really know what it means and you're like, yeah, the lawful good paladin stabs the barman. Like, why? No. I'd be like, well, no, you're not playing very well. But like in S5E, I would say, yeah, there were moments there where we all sort of swayed in different alignments. You know, you guys killed those EDF. Maybe those, you know, that could be a neutral
Yeah.
vibe. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I absolutely am always for changing alignments.
Cool.
And honestly, I'm Joe, just from your character too, I'm still hearing a little bit of the bard elements. Maybe sometime down the road,
Gonna
your character
multiply.
has a couple of those. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Why not? I'm feeling already so much better about my character.
Yeah.
I whipped out the personality trait. I'm always calm no matter what the situation. I never raise my voice or let my emotions control me.
See, it's because you never wanted to play an evil character before. But now we started watching It's Always Sunny, and now you're like, oh, I appreciate how these terrible characters are enjoyable to watch.
I'm too empathetic as a
That's
human
how it
being, though,
is.
because I constantly feel bad for them.
Yeah, It's
Even though
Always
they're
Sunny in
so
Philadelphia makes you want to hate the, you know, you're like, oh, never mind, these terrible people are can be entertaining.
Yeah.
You're in
Maybe.
danger if you feel bad for Charlie because he's as bad as the rest of them.
That's exactly. She was like, well, I even
That's
said
the
too. I was
whole
like,
show.
Charlie's kind of like the heart, and then there's an episode where Charlie just like is the worst, and you're like, oh no, Charlie's terrible too. They're all terrible.
Yep.
It's a great show.
That's awesome.
Anyway, I think that's good for tonight, eh? What do you think? We wind up
Yeah.
and start fresh next
We
week.
got a nice little
think-
party.
Yeah.
doing
I like
great.
that.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This was session 0 of Hereafter. We are going to be back next week with chapter 1. So strap in tight. We'll be here at 7 o'clock. And thank you for wonderful people for hanging out again. And we will be back next Tuesday. As my good friend Gary always likes to say,
I like red. I like red. You should wear more red. Wear lots of red to it.
I love red too. Good night.